I will open the City Council work session, January 16th, 2021. I need our approval of the agenda.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anyone.
You're not hearing anyone? Mike? I need to go from Mike.
Rusty's checking to see if there's anything on our end, so he's looking.
It looks like he's connected.
Can you hear us now?
No, I might have to.
We can hear you, so that's fine.
I can hear them all talking, but they can't hear me. I mean, I can see them
We can hear
talking.
you.
We hear you, Mike.
Sign language. We hear you, Mike.
It's disappeared.
I think he disconnected. He's reconnecting.
It looks like he's reconnecting with Stacy's.
If he doesn't, I'll call him here in a second. Oh, there it is. Can you hear us, Mike?
There it is. No,
Can you hear us? We have to do sign language.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Hear you. Okay.
Yay.
Okay, so we've opened. Let's start with our, Bruce, do you want to say anything first, or shall we jump right into Kelly's presentation?
Let's just jump into Kelly's, 'cause she's got the best summary.
Well, I think she's doing your HREPs.
Yeah, she's doing an HRAP.
Okay. Well, we did have a tour yesterday, and we had about 20 to 25 people.
Wow.
And yeah, and it went well. And just looking forward to hearing from everybody as far as what their ideas are. That's all I got, Sam.
Okay. Kelly?
Okay, I'll be wearing my first hat for this meeting, and that's to, as a representative of Haystack Rock Awareness Program, to share just one of our ideas that this space could be used for. So I've already sent a letter previously, so this is going to be just a further explanation of something that we've already recommended, and that is to create a nature interpretive center, specifically initially one that is self-guided. So this center would be something that could be focused on the ecosystems in Cannon Beach and our surrounding areas. It would have resources that are available for visitors and both our residential and business communities around here. And I envision that this is something that could be adaptable for regular changes, updates, and has the potential for education and stewardship opportunities that does eventually involve staffing and isn't just self-guided all the time. So the purpose of this would be to create something that is year-round and indoors. It would be in a classroom-sized space. It would be open to the public and allow for environmental stewardship to very readily continue during the hours and months that HRAP is not operating down on the beach at Haystack Rock. It could also be a space that is good during poor weather conditions when we still have a lot of visitors in town. And it's also something that is accessible for those who have difficulty with mobility or with beach accessibility, since it's located in a town rather than on the beach. And this is something that we could also be able to readily provide information in multiple languages that our staffing and volunteer interpretive staff are not able to speak. So one of the overview of kind of the potential of what this center would be is initially it would be something that is primarily informational, and it would have brochures and displays from HRAP, Friends of Haystack Rock, Fisheries and Wildlife Services, Parks, Friends of Cape Falcon, North Coast Lands Conservancy, the Wildlife Center, Seaside Aquarium, and some other related partners and stakeholders from this region. The focus would be on creating a positive environment that really celebrates all the natural wonders and beauties that we have around here. And we do that by providing educational information in the form of these posters, brochures, artwork, and eventually interactive screens and displays that are about all the various flora and fauna around here, the geology, as well as any other regional ecosystem specific histories that we have in Cannon Beach. So in addition to having species and rocky shore habitat materials, the space would also be something that could be helpful for emergency or regulatory and beach etiquette information as a space that would easily be able to provide that. And we could also act as a volunteer hub. It would be a place that we could have information on how to get involved, some current newsletters, current research updates, and any other helpful resources that might be able to reach more people, like alerts and tide tables. So this is something that, again, all of this can be provided in multiple information or multiple languages, and that's a way just to really help shrink the lingual divides that we might have going on, not just with residents, but with visitors as well. So some of the wall displays that we kind of envision that we would have here would include park, hiking, and birding maps for people, historical timelines, some local artwork, and enclosed specimen displays. The center would be a hub that could also collect donations for Friends of Haystack Rock, as well as recognize many of our donors and volunteers. It's a place that we could set up a marine debris disposal area, trash bag pickup and exchanges, and we can even run something like a beach toy exchange program. And all these are something, just another location and spot that really adds to the efforts to encourage reduction, reusing, and recycling. So finally, we envision that a classroom size space is one that HRAP's beach program, like our program, is going to be dynamic and very adaptable. So a classroom would allow the center to eventually be turned into an area that has staffing in it rather than just down at the beach. And so we would be able to use this during school field trips, private tours, small meetings, film screenings, lectureships, fundraising events for partners or other organizations that are part of the community, and even just another place that allows for personal in-person interactions for HRAP with their visitors, just like what we have during peak tourism season at the beach. And so once a center like this is established, there's really a huge amount of opportunities and possibilities to grow and improve the nature center as the resources increase or change over time. Ideally, it could be something that we could really host contemporary components that if you ever go to some of the larger nature centers that they have, things like photo op displays that are created by local artists, interactive touchscreen displays, and setting up live feeds from cameras that are either on or at Haystack Rock during low tide, and even setting something up like a shuttle program that leaves from downtown to midtown or the stairs at Haystack Rock during low tides or peak tourism season is something that really helps increase our accessibility around the city. So potentially a space like this would also be able to be further modified and kind of act as a downtown operations center for HRAP and our partners. We could have space to store and maintain equipment, wash towels, jackets, and boots. In addition to that, HRAP right now is currently the main entity for around Cannon Beach that rescues and transports injured sea and shorebirds that takes them to the North Coast Wildlife Center in Astoria. And so this space would be one that would allow us to safely keep those birds in a spot and begin some rehabilitation before that transport or pickup is ready and available. And I just envision that in addition to all that, there would be bathrooms that would be open to the public, which is something I want to note I think would be of need regardless of what happens to the entire elementary school. But that alone just further increases the traffic into the nature center and kind of that educational reach. And funding for a program like this is actually readily available through a combination of displays and information that we and our partners already have. In addition, it's a readily fundable through grants, a project like this, and with support from our partners and collaborators. So some of the benefits that I want to emphasize on a nature interpretive center is we have seen personally from previous studies that have been conducted by HRAP during our summer seasons that the receptivity to interpretive programs is extremely positive. And this is focused on both visitors and local residents who live in the area. So I hypothesized that a nature center would have that same impact as the receptivity that we have to our beach program. A most recent study that we did on this came in this last summer in 2020, and we found actually that specifically visitors who were located at the downtown parking lot were nearly 3 times less likely to be aware of the protections at Haystack Rock than visitors who were found in Midtown. So although those same visitors were equally as receptive and supportive of the idea of these marine garden protections in place, they just themselves weren't ecotourists, and that wasn't their purpose. So, and they weren't aware, even though that short distance away from one parking lot to the next indicates that there is a huge educational impact and reach that we could have just by being located downtown as well as at Midtown. So from a high yield perspective, that's that spot just already provides for maximum efficiency. And our previous data indicates that both our visitors and residents would be highly receptive to something like this, especially if it's something that is a space that is incredibly welcoming and we allow easy access to and easy use for others. So this center, I just want to emphasize, is something that would be a way to help increase donation, help increase volunteer participation, as well as increase awareness and appreciation for all of our cultural heritage and our environmental heritage, all of the environmental issues and concerns and current research efforts that are going on around this area. Ultimately, what it comes down to is that I still believe that the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world is education. And an interpretive nature center is something that fully embraces that belief and also embraces this kind of overarching culture and values that we have in Cannon Beach.
Very good, Kelly. Thank you.
I have a
Okay.
question. I have
Yeah.
a question. Kelly, how big an area, you said a classroom, but what you described sounded like much larger than a classroom. So how much area do you think it would take?
So I think a classroom is actually reasonable. You just have to consider efficiency of how you put in displays. But a lot of nature centers themselves start as fairly small spaces, or they're shared within shared spaces. You don't need like an entire school building like some of the large centers might have. Especially since we're honed in and focused on such a specific region, it's easy to not overwhelm people with having too much there. It just have your kind of high yield efficiency and focus and main purposes there. I really just, everything I kind of described was more of a list of all the potentials rather than everything that we would want to be able to cram into one classroom if it was just a classroom space. Because realistically, something like this is you could do indoor, outdoor, and fit in any amount of space that's given to you.
And do you see it as something that could be shared with other groups, or would it be a dedicated class or dedicated area just strictly for the interpretive center?
I think the idea, if you were to create a interpretive center, it would be partially dynamic as far as being shareable with the space in the middle of it, but certain things like displays, you would want to have permanent setups, but it could easily be shared with other types of interpretive centers, like a historical or cultural type of center. You could combine them.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly, I have a question. Previously, I've heard a lot of comments about having a nature walk along the creek trail there with some interpretive elements along that. Are you including that kind of idea?
Absolutely. If that was, I love that suggestion. Definitely, I think that's an easy way to provide information along the way. Initially, I was just envisioning a center that's just mostly indoor, but yeah, indoor, outdoor, like that's combined, I think would be incredible.
Cool. Anybody else questions?
That's a great concept.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like I see Joyce has joined us, so can we connect her
was.
for her comments?
She was, but she dropped off. I don't see her on there now.
Would you like me to call Joyce?
Yes, please.
Yes. We do have a couple hands raised. So we'll pay some attention to those folks in a minute.
It's busy. She might be trying to get in.
Okay, well, let's jump to either Angela or Betsy. Rusty, can you grab one of them and
Sure.
see what they want to?
First.
I'll do Angela
Is it Angela?
then.
Benton?
Morning, can you hear me?
Hello,
Yes.
Angela.
Good morning.
Hey, Joyce, Bruce.
Thank you for opening up the line for my raised hand, my first time using a webinar. I'm glad you can hear me. My name
I
is-
can barely hear you. It's a little difficult.
Can you hear me? Is that better?
Hang on, everybody. We got to get Bruce quiet. And Angela,
Okay, you ready, Sam?
okay.
Great. Well, as you know, my name is Angela Benton, and I'm with Friends of Haystack Rock. And I'm here this morning on behalf of Friends of Haystack Rock to lend our voice of support to the idea that Kelly and HRAP put forward. We're really excited about the concept. This area just has so many natural wonders to celebrate and share. And we believe a Nature Interpretive Center provides an opportunity to connect with more visitors and promote environmental stewardship and education year-round for folks who can't make it to the rock, who can't get up into the forests, for folks maybe who even have a different language or have been to the rock and want additional information. So we think it's a really exciting opportunity to push us into that next realm of eco-focus and education. The classroom concept that Kelly mentioned would also be helpful in promoting education stewardship by providing a place for school groups. I've been at the Rock when school groups arrive, and those kids are just so excited, it's hard to connect with them. So this would be an opportunity for them to be in a lecture environment and then move into the Rock and other places along the stream, as Sam, you just talked about. It's also an opportunity for us to provide lectures as a community, environmental films, highlight some of the environmental artists. It's really an awesome center idea that provides a meeting place in support of a wide variety of activities targeting the natural wonders we have here in environmental education. Now, additionally, in addition to support the environmental education and stewardship work that Kelly mentioned, Friends of Haystack Rock has begun exploring the idea of additional interpretive signs and boards in other high volume areas. Kelly mentioned education is an important part of the future of a healthy environment. And places like Midtown bathrooms or some other areas around town, we think might be great opportunities to provide information and interpretive signs to visitors so they can better appreciate the experience that they're having. We've just started looking into this idea. We've talked to Kelly a little bit about it, but we do look forward to engaging with Bruce, Kelly, and the council when we have some ideas to share. And this is in addition to Kelly's concept of the Interpretive Center. So on behalf of Friends of Haystack Rock, I just want to thank Kelly for putting together such an amazing proposal. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with this morning. And thank you for the wonderful partnership we have with the city, HRAP, and the continued support of our efforts by the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Angela?
While I was listening, I got an idea from for one of your interpretive signs. It's at City Park, maybe, is how to appropriately interact with elk.
Oh, that's a great one.
That would be really nice. Okay. What's
Pam?
our status with Joyce?
I've got her on the phone. Joyce, can you just say something and make sure I get you right next to a microphone?
Good morning, friends and neighbors.
Morning.
Here.
Just turning you up.
Are we go?
Hold on just a second. Turning you up. Okay, go ahead, Joyce.
No one ever says that.
I know, it was really went against my nature. Okay.
Oh, it's good to laugh.
Okay, you're good.
Okay. Good morning, friends and neighbors. I'll be brief. That was a wonderful presentation, and the environment defines us, and of course, all of the arts define us. And that building is very exciting, the Gathering Place, as a multi-use civic center. And I just want to talk about one aspect and the importance of that aspect, and I think possibly, kind of a civic community place, the Gathering Place. The more options that we have for the Quonset hut, for music, theater, Shakespeare, opera, whatever we want, bluegrass festivals, the better the sound and the better the lighting. We can have performers here year-round, filling our hotels, filling, most importantly, our restaurants. I'm sure you're all aware that restaurants in Portland close every day. Numerous restaurants in Seattle close every day. One thing that we're very, very fortunate with, and after being in business for 34 years, I believe I have a good sense of who comes here, who lives here, and who has a second home here, is that people are really interested in the arts. When we have any kind of an event, the theater is full. When we have an art festival, all of the hotels and restaurants are full. Doing this once, there is no redo money, right? For the sound and the lighting would make this a go-to for people who no longer go to their own cities. Travel Portland just wrote of their city that it's out of favor with tourists. We are seeing more of our regular and some new Washingtonians. Washington, as everyone knows, is one of the most well-to-do, well-educated states in the nation, and they are our wonderful neighbors. They don't have sales tax. The longer they stay here, the more money they spend. Also, 2/3 of all purchases, art purchases especially, are made while people are on vacation. The president, CEO of the World Bank, this is from Americans for the Arts, said, if you want your cash registers to ring and restaurants to stay open and retail to do well, promote the arts. And that's what I'm asking you to consider. And I believe through the grapevine, because this is such a gathering place, that we will see very prominent people step up and do maybe a free concert to help kind of get things rolling. And we'll be back to that. We will be back to gathering in places. And of course, even though I said I was just going to talk about the arts, before I get to that, I think this would actually make us an economic key, a stability for our entire town. And of course, I'm hoping that our Lolly Champion food pantry will remain there. I think that is part of our heart. That is part of who we are, and we're all about community. Real quick, I put together a AAA ad, gathered the funds for it, did it in October, felt it was a little bit busier, especially it was for Seattle with the Washingtonians, and I think it did help. And people were actually asking, why are there so many people here in November? We work together, and this is a time to do that, to think about our generation and the next couple of generations. We will make this a go-to civic center because it will be the best place for lighting and performance. And I mean, it's so easy. People want to come here. I've already reached out a couple of years ago to Shakespeare, and they were ready to just come and just do part of something. People want to be in Cannon Beach because we are one of the most beautiful places on earth. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce.
Thanks, Joyce. Well said. Let's see, Rusty, can we get Betsy in here?
Yeah. Let's see here.
Hey, Joyce. Good job.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Do you want to continue to listen?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Hi, Betsy.
Gosh, everybody's so well organized with such wonderful things to say. It's exciting, especially, Kelly's presentation was
Wanna drop
awesome.
off, just go ahead and
And
drop off
Joyce,
whenever.
thank you for your information about the arts. What I would like to know is, are you in a work session able to see everyone who is participating, who is not on the council?
Yes.
We can
Okay,
see a list of names. We don't see the people.
okay. And is there some reason why that can't be shared with the rest of the community? I'm just curious to know how many people are showing up interested in this subject.
It is being recorded on YouTube. If
Does
that's
that
the
mean if I
question,
went to
Betsy.
YouTube, I could see who's listening to the presentation this morning?
Can you, Rusty, can they go down below just like we can and see and click on participants?
They can see probably the number, but I don't think they can see the actual attendee names.
Oh, okay.
How many are there?
14.
14 right now.
14?
Now, do we,
6.
if they were to turn their cameras on, we would be able to see them.
We don't
That's
have that option.
No, not
Okay.
if they're attendees.
Okay.
Well, is there, I mean, I like going to the meetings that I've been able to attend that the city is hosting, where people can turn their cameras on and we can see who else is there. And so when people are chiming in, we can see them, our neighbors and friends.
But I think the problem is that we started having so many people that we had to separate out in order to, allow the council to be able to talk among themselves, that we separated out the group that is actually at the meeting and separated from all the people that are attending. So there's really two lists now. And it would just kind of became unwieldy. But I think that
Okay.
like when we're having the coffee with the counselor, there are less people, maybe, in total. We have a lot more, but not since Zoom land came in. But we do, that's one that we don't have the separated.
Well, if we can't do that, is there a way to put in a chat box?
That won't work because chat boxes for us are ethically illegal. So that's an issue for an open meeting where the council is having a side conversation with somebody. That's a big no-no.
Oh,
I
see.
would like to ask if we could figure out a way to get the attendee list available to all attendees. At least they'll see the names of folks. When people speak, your box comes up if you have the ability to do a visual. So that way, when somebody's speaking, at least they would be included with the 6 of us on the council and the city. So I think if we could figure out a way to get the attendee list available to folks as a public, it is available in the record of the meeting because it's public knowledge that those folks were attending this meeting, but at least, and I don't know if we can find out through the YouTube. I've never looked at the YouTube process to see how that works. So
Okay.
If you
well,
thank
request,
you.
if you request to speak ahead of time, you could be on camera and have your camera there, because if you request to speak by the deadline, you'll be as a presenter and you would be on screen. But if you
Yeah.
raise your hand, then you don't have that ability.
Except for those folks that don't have devices with cameras. So
Right, that's always gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. It's just, yeah, just, anyway, carry
Yeah.
on.
thanks, Betsy, and we will try and sort this out a little better. We're always learning about this stuff. I have to admit, if we'd be in the dark ages if it wasn't for Rusty. So,
Yeah, that's for sure.
okay. At that's all our speakers and our raised hands. We'll go back to Kelly for her presentation.
Well, Paul has a raised hand.
Oh, wait, I missed
Paul
that
has
one.
a raised hand.
Where's Paul? Oh, Paul, you snuck in.
Only Paul's last name.
Paul, can you hear us?
Oh, Paul.
Hello, Paul. Paul? Not working. Well, he's probably using his phone. Text him. Okay, I don't know what to do.
Why don't we switch to Kelly and let Paul keep trying to call in and we'll keep an eye on the number.
And Sharon's got a hand up now too.
Okay.
Hi there. Maybe you could read the list of names for Betsy so at least we know who's attending the meeting. And I thoroughly applaud the idea of an art center and a community meeting. I certainly miss the Haystack program that was years ago, and one shining example of that was a steel drum making class where they gave concert for the community afterwards, and the crowd was immense for that concert. It was wonderful. So thank you.
Yeah, I like that you'd be combining the two pieces of the group or of the location.
Thank you, Sharon. Try Paul again.
His microphone wasn't working.
Unmute.
There,
Am I
There we
there?
are. Hey, Paul.
Okay, now I got headphones and I got the whole thing. Number one, thank you so much for all the effort you folks are putting in with the city. It sounds as though there is a very cohesive and forward motion on your part, and I sincerely appreciate that. That grade school is a jewel in our community, and I have heard a number of wonderful ideas. Really appreciated the Haystack Rock presentation today. That was awesome. I agree with Joyce with regard to the arts. I remember back in the day when Pacific was at Portland University would come down in the summertime, and that finally went away, I think partially because we couldn't house enough folks when they came down because it was in the summertime. Something like that, I would suggest, well, let's do it twice a year, once in the fall for fall break and then once in the spring for spring break, and have a week-long sabbatical educational. So there's so many opportunities for us as a city and as businesses and as our community to enjoy the arts and education. It's fantastic. I had a note on my desk when we watched the last meeting was I hadn't heard anything about the indigenous tribe inclusion, and then Sam and I made a note, and then Sam popped up and fulfill the wish. So I just applaud you guys for having these open meetings and taking the input that the rest of the community can provide. This is an opportunity for us to create a jewel on the North Oregon coast that quite possibly would be very hard to duplicate or surpass. And I just absolutely throw our Margot's and my commitment to do whatever we can. As a group, Thistle and Rose has been at the school once. I was down yesterday with Bruce. So let us know whatever it is that we can do in order to help support you folks in achieving this dream.
You're on my list, Paul.
And if I could just add something there, Thistle and Rose we met down at the gym and we were kind of playing around with the acoustics. And there was, we tried one thing that was a cappella and they just sat in the middle of the gym facing each other. And we just did a sound test. I wish we would have done the whole song, but we will be putting that on the website just to get people excited about the music. And also,
Probably need to get it on yours.
yeah, we'll get it. Rusty will do a little editing. He's kind of looking at me like, what are you, crazy? And the answer is yes. But we will do things like that. And also have been talking to John Bueller about choir and that sort of thing too. So kind of trying to get ahead of the curve on sound issues so that we can be ready when it comes time to talk to engineers. And Paul, thank you so much. He brought the lights down yesterday.
You're welcome. Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, we weren't in a dark gym.
And that's a good segue because I have a blue hand for John. Rusty?
Sam. Oh, there he is.
You're still
There,
muted.
John?
I said I'll unmute.
There we go.
I want to start also by saying thank you to the counselors and the staff for the time that you've dedicated to what we're doing here. This is just wonderful. And I really also appreciate very much Kelly's work and thought with regard to the HRAP Interpretive Center's abilities to spread the gospel. But I want to tell you that I have a significant amount of visitor and resident relationship with gymnasium space. But as a musician, must have been 30 years ago that one day on a day trip to Cannon Beach, we had lunch at Bill's and there was a flyer on the bar that announced a concert that night by the Haystack Arts Program sponsored by Portland State. And so we went to the concert and there must have been 70 singers in this choir that had sung all week long together. And there might have been 8 of us in the audience in the gymnasium. And it was just a wonderful experience for all 58 of us or thereaurbouts. But then when we moved here in 2009, I spent that week as one of the participants in that choral conductors workshop and have been aware of what's gone on there in the distant past. I've got notes from Eric Erickson's workshop at the gymnasium. Eric Erickson's probably the most widely known choral conductor on earth in our the last 2 centuries. But he did a lecture here at one point way back when. I can tell you that that's a great space, and as my participation in that week of rehearsals and reading sessions and then a concert, gymnasium was nearly full of people, both 100 singers and more than that in the audience at the end of the week. The acoustic in that place, as it is right now, is very, very resonant and very nice for music. However, for smaller groups and performances that aren't very robust. A sound system is going to be really good. And of course, lighting will be important. My reason for raising my hand, honestly, doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with, I'm sorry that I missed the tour yesterday. I think I've made evidence of my interest in this project in the past, but I didn't know to look at another link on the city's website to see what was going on there. My suggestion would be to put all of those things just in one place so that when I refer to it 2 or 3 times a week, I can see what's going on next. But maybe most important of what I've said is thank you to the council. Thanks.
Thanks,
John. And I would say that the Bruce tour system is available anytime.
Yeah, and John and I have been playing phone tag or email tag, but John, I'll try to get you in there today.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
You have my email. Just email me your number, please.
I'll do it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't see any more blue hands. So quickly, let's go to Kelly while we can.
All right, second hat for the early morning. Okay. All right, so we once again took all the input that we had received into our system by yesterday as of around 2 p.m. So there were a couple other suggestions that came after Bruce's tour that haven't been accounted for yet. So if anyone is listening that doesn't see yours, it will be on the next update. All right, so we ended up adding 7 new comments onto this new update. And then Rusty, if you can go to the next slide. So this is, again, your overall display of everything that people have expressed support or interest in or independently came up with their ideas for. Vast majority have made comments that relate to utilizing the gym space, and then we're pretty equal on people commenting on the park outdoor space and classroom space. And you can see you're starting to kind of see the few main interests are really peaking up at the top there. So going into details on the new ones, for the gym, it's still most support has had comments related to the acoustics and making this a music accessible space, as well as multi-use and community center have still just had more people reaching out in support of that. We have also recently, this past week, got comments for people who wanted to make a multi-sport and kind of gym space, one that would be dynamic and account for a variety of different sports clubs or groups and accommodations, whether that be pickleball, basketball, volleyball, yoga, or anything along those lines. And then the other next, I think, is classrooms. Oh, outdoor. Outdoor, we just, again, have more people saying that they like the idea of utilizing green space and utilizing outdoor concert potential. So for the classrooms, I think the next new, we have a couple specifically mentioned that they like the idea of bringing art classrooms interactions back into there, and along that was still supporting the idea of multi-use classroom space, ones that are dynamic and can be rented out for different groups and different clubs. We also had someone comment specifically on the idea of a historical interpretive area or center that would be dedicated to Pacific Northwest history in this region and Lewis and Clark expedition specifically. And then that they also noted that you would want to be sure to take into account parking. And this was something that another public comment we got is that emphasizing the importance of what you're going to do for the parking plan, because the limits on parking are possibly going to have limits on the full building potential. So someone just wanted to emphasize that. And there was also a brief mentioning of potential for Fort Clatsop satellite partnership down in this region. I think that accounts for everything that we had received by email and from the last meeting added in there. which is more than we had previously, and more people raising their hand here. So hopefully this is getting people interested and wanting to share their input with you. It seems to be on a little bit of a rise there. So just want to say again, thank you everyone for your comments.
Very good. Thank you, Kelly. Council, any last comments?
I'm just wondering, Bruce, are you going to have tours scheduled before each public hearing, like on the 20th and the 23rd? Or are you available anytime? How are you going to do that?
I'm looking at my calendar right now, and I think we'll be able to do one at 2 o'clock on the 19th. And
Okay,
probably the Friday before the meeting on the 23rd.
okay. You
So
know
we'll
what
put some-
time on Friday?
Let's do them both at 2 o'clock.
Okay,
We'll post these on the website. So if there's anybody who wants to come back or you want to let somebody know, Friday, the 22nd at 2 o'clock and Tuesday, the 19th at 2 o'clock.
okay.
With that, I'm going to ask everybody who is attending today to get that word out so we have people who will want to attend to know about it. And with Sharon's suggestion, I am going to read off those names that I can see. On the attendee list, Angela spoke, Barb Knopp, whoever Beachy 47 is, I don't know, Betsy, Betty Guerin, Deborah Attia, Jennifer Wyman, Jim Pano from the Chamber, John Bueller, Lisa Habecker, Mary Beth Cottle, Mary Ann Sinkler, Paul Duber, and Sharon Amber. That's actually a pleasant way to do this. So
Thanks, Sam, for doing that.
yeah, I might do that at the beginning of the meeting next time, but with that, I have a gallery to open. So any last concerns?
Yes, we had spoke at the last meeting since, and I think it was evident today that there was, enough discussion about the classrooms, but that we really want to get the idea out there that the classrooms are definitely in play here for trying to get suggestions about what to do there. And I think so far that that's being done.
Great, thank you for reminding us of that, Brandon. I agree. The classrooms are very active within the discussion currently. There are good ideas coming forward that I obviously relate to the classrooms. So when we get to our discussion phase of this, we have all this really good input, we can make sure that that's part of this. Okay, Bruce, do you have anything last minute?
No, sir, but I want, other than thanking everybody that's been participating.
Agreed.
It's really important.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks
All right,
all.
thank you.
Thank you.